and welcome again to another episode of This Song Sucks, a podcast where three musician pals get together and talk about the songs that we hate. I'm Josh Kavanaugh, and as always, I'm joined by Hayden. I'm not a nerd, even though I'm wearing these glasses, Crawford. How's it going, Hayden? A deep sigh of contempt immediately right off the bat.
Anybody want to go to Chili's after this?
And there you heard a very contented moan, I guess, from Blaine. Done up real good, Duncan. How's it going, Blaine?
It's great. It's good. It's good stuff. If I cough loudly, it's because I have bronchitis and I'm getting over it.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, Hayden's also got some allergy situation going on, so we're going to have a lot of sniffles and coughs.
Got the old concrete noggin going on.
Josh is really good at editing. If you're a listener, you know that. So he'll edit out all my coughs, so you won't even know I have bronchitis. I don't know why I said it.
If I'm good at editing, they don't know that.
So let's get right down to it. We're going to talk about Guy Fieri's new contract or what?
I mean, it's funny that you mention Chili's, Hayden, because we might be talking about the band version of Chili's today. We're talking about...
Don't you gloss over Fieri's contract, Josh? Let's talk about it for a minute. Did you guys read about this?
I'm just trying to keep you from talking about burgers within the first 5 minutes recording our episode.
Okay, whatever. He's only the top paid chef on television now. Whatever. It's not important.
Was he not before?
No. He just signed an $80 million 3-year deal at Food Network. Makes him the top paid chef in television. Huh. So our boy Guy is skyrocketing.
I mean, he's got to go through a lot of hair gel, so makes sense.
And our other boy, Adam Morrow, will be pleased.
Adam is the reason I know about this.
There you go.
Today, we are talking about MmmBop by the band Hanson.
Are you sure that they're a band and not just a middle-class fancy meme?
Great meme site, by the way. Great.
That's middleclassfancy.com.
Yeah, no sponsors here.
It's not .com, you nerd. It's an Instagram account. Jesus Christ. I'm going to Olive Garden.
Anyway, we'll do our normal thing. We'll get a little bit of bio on these the three brothers Hanson, Isaac, Taylor, and Zach. They're originally from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and they started
the Holy Trinity.
Yes. I think that's all their middle names too. For some reason, nobody in this family goes by their first name. It's just their middle name.
I can relate to that.
That's because they're all of their first names are Chad. So it would be confusing.
Or Keith.
So they got their start as a band in 1992. It started as an a cappella group that performed 50s and 60s classics such as Rockin' Robin and Johnny Be Good. And there's a couple of videos you can find of these kids doing that, and it is just as stupid as you would think it is.
I also saw that they did a version of Splish Splash, which really disturbed me a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't mention that specifically because it disturbed me, so thanks.
Yeah, I made sure to mention it.
So they originally called themselves the Hanson Brothers, but they later changed to just Hanson. I'm not sure if this is the reason why, but it may have something to do with the fact that there was already a Canadian punk band called the Hanson Brothers. So, whoops.
Oopsie.
They had this a cappella group, and we're going to see this connection later. We'll talk about it, some sort of strange Christian stuff going on. But one of their earliest bits of media you can find them on is on some weird video called Yo Kids the Vids, which is it's a Christian musical, very public access level sort of production. But the bit that they're in, you can find it on YouTube. Taylor, the middle kid, plays a biblical David facing Goliath, and Isaac, the older brother, is an event announcer, like it's a boxing match or something. And they have weird doo-wop female singers in the background with black dresses and a crowd cheering them on.
I like how you pick boxing because he definitely has the sleaze going on that a boxing announcer needs.
Apparently, they were also on an episode of The Weird Al Show at some point before they got real famous.
Weird Al had a show?
Yeah, it wasn't MTV, but I mean, you can probably find this video online as well. I didn't bother because was watching enough fucking Hanson over the past week. But their first real big break came when they performed at South by Southwest in 1994.
What? Yeah.
Sharing the bill with Johnny Cash.
I bet he was pissed.
I think Beck was playing there that year as well.
Hey, there's a weird Beck connection here. I don't know if you came across this.
We'll get to that
never
for
mind.
sure.
Okay, so sorry, Jesus Christ.
You gotta let me do my thing. You have the stupid YouTube comments.
Yeah, that's like 3 minutes at the end. Okay.
So when they were at South by Southwest, they were apparently discovered and signed by this manager guy named Christopher Sabeck. And I'd never heard of him before, but apparently he's worked with like Dave Matthews Band and several other acts. But he's probably most famous. He was the executive of Jerry Garcia's estate and was like largely responsible for monetizing Garcia's name in like the early 2000s. So like the reason that there's a Ben and Jerry's Cherry Garcia and you can buy Jerry Garcia neckties is because of this asshole. Oh. And he also was a founder of a group called Rights Corps, which is one of these companies that just goes around and issues takedown notices online and just sends scary letters to people saying you have to take stuff down.
Sounds pretty chill.
Yeah, I mean, so it's kind of like this guy is clearly a sleazeball that's sort of bringing them into the limelight. So before they got really big with MmmBop and their first album, they had 2 independent albums they recorded in Tulsa. The first one being called Boomerang in 1995.
When I said we had to stop talking about Florida, I did not mean we had to talk about Tulsa, Josh. Jesus Christ. Can't we talk about New York City or something?
I mean, Tulsa is known as the Florida of Hurricane Alley, so... So this whole album, I'm pretty sure that they recorded it using only the sounds from a Casio keyboard.
That is exact... Okay.
Bass, drums, and everything.
I have that exact sentence written down, and I hate you.
From the album Boomerang?
No, just about everything that I've listened to by them. It sounds like it was all recorded on like a cheap Casio thing you'd buy at Radio Shack.
Did you listen to this first album though? You can find it online, like on YouTube. Listen to the whole thing. I mean, it sounds like they spent $500 on a keyboard. Like there's no natural drums. I don't even think the kid was playing guitar yet at this point. I mean, it kind of sounds like if the Jackson 5 were produced by like a shopping mall manager.
They produced inside a Radio Shack.
Exactly.
And for listeners, that is a store that used to exist.
My dad, Big D, loved Radio Shack.
That does not surprise me at all. So anyway, their next independent release is entitled just simply MmmBop from 1996. And the sound palette on this is a little less cringy than that first demo, but there's still a lot of like really dated sounding electronic drums and keyboard sounds.
Yeah.
The guitar makes its appearance, but I mean the recording quality is just so incredibly substandard on the guitar. even for like an independent album recorded by children in the mid 90s, it's pretty. It just sounds.
It's aggressively bad.
It's just a big muddy mess.
I feel like it's just a straight into the board with like a plug-in, like a Marshall plug-in or something.
I don't even think it's that. I think it's plugged into like a Line 6 Spider with like that headphone.
I think a Line
out.
6 I think a Line 6 sounds better than this. I gotta say. Because I have the same thing written down about the Line 6. I think you and I have 2 exact lines.
This song is clearly triggering a lot of common points between me and Hayden. So, as you might have guessed, it's titled MmmBop, and it contains the original version of the song. The difference being, other than the fact that it just sounds shittier because the guitar and the not very well produced other instruments, it's like way slower. If you go, again, you can find this version online on YouTube and listen to it. But if you listen to that and listen to the one that we know and hate, it's very clear that whoever produced the later famous version had their work cut out for them. I mean, there was a lot of studio magic that went into making that piece of crap even marketable. And it's also the main difference also is that mercifully the fade at the end of the song is very super short. So like that, whoever was mixing it was like, all right, I'm done with this. Turn it off immediately.
Well, I mean, it's gone on for far too long at that point. It's just such a fucking mess. We'll get to that.
It
later,
is
though.
way longer too than the pop radio version.
For sure.
So this Sabet guy, this manager character, he shopped the band around to record companies for a few years, but most of them dismissed the band as a novelty. Go figure, right?
Why would they do that?
But that all changed when an A&R rep from Mercury Records saw them perform at the Wisconsin State Fair in 1996.
Most prestigious.
I tried real hard to find other acts on that bill, but I imagine that for Hanson to look good enough for a record company guy to get them, it must have been pretty bad.
Yeah.
Well, I've got it right here. It was Carl the Wiener Dog, B.J. Thomas, country legend, and also...
Just a giant block of cheese just sitting on the stage.
Just a cheese that you could come and lick at your leisure.
Who is Carl the Wiener Dog?
They opened for Hanson.
Excellent.
So anyway, they released their first major label album, Middle of Nowhere, in May of 1997. So primed right for that summer smash hit. This album, which of course contains MmmBop, is quadruple platinum. The song itself debuted at number 16 the week of May 3rd that year. It reached number 1 4 weeks later, and the interesting thing is that it knocked off Hypnotize by Notorious B.I.G., stayed at number 1 for 3 weeks, and then was knocked off the top spot by I'll Be Missing You by Puff Daddy.
Excellent. The way it should be.
Bad boy getting at him.
Yeah, and it stayed on the chart another 14 weeks total. The album itself peaked at number 2 on the Billboard 200, and it was kept off the top spot by Spice by Spice Girls.
Oh, man.
You think we'll ever do a Spice Girls song at some point?
Nah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with them.
Not me either.
Fine. So anyway, this album and the band ended up being nominated for 3 awards at the 1998 Grammys. MmmBop, of course, was nominated for Record of the Year. However, it lost to Sonny Came Home by Sean Colvin. Remember that song?
Man, I fucking love that song.
I like that song, too.
It's a good one.
They were nominated for Best Artist, but lost to Paula Cole.
Another good one. Where have all the cowboys gone?
Well, I mean, Best New Artist, so it wasn't for a particular
yeah.
song. And her song was nominated for either, I think, Song of the Year, maybe not Record of the Year. But, of course, I think, like I said, Sean Colvin won Record of the Year.
Yeah.
Paula Cole won Best New Artist. And this is one of my favorites here. The song MmmBop was also nominated for Best Pop Performance by a Duo or Group with Vocal, but it lost to Virtual Insanity by Jamiroquai.
Good. It's way worse than all of these things.
Yeah.
These are all good.
So this album had 5 fucking singles on it. 5.
What?
I mean, they were pushing it hard, but only one other song actually made it on the Hot 100 from that album, which is I Will Come to You. It peaked at number 9. I don't even remember that song. I didn't even bother listening to it.
Yeah, me either. Let's not talk about it.
But going back to what you were mentioning earlier about the Beck connection,
Yeah.
An interesting note about this album was produced by the Dust Brothers,
Yeah, that's right.
who are probably they're best known for they did Paul's Boutique by the Beastie Boys, which is like widely regarded as probably their best album. They also did Beck's Odelay, Midnight Vultures, and Guero.
Those are some excellent Beck records.
Yeah, which again were all great records, and they also wrote the soundtrack to Fight Club. So you have this resume of like what I would consider objectively good shit, and then Hanson randomly.
Yeah.
They also did part of the soundtrack for Muppets from Space, Josh. Don't leave that out.
Sorry, I guess I didn't get that far down on their Wikipedia page.
Were y'all shocked to find out it was the Dust Brothers that?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely was.
Yeah, I was too. Me too.
Because I knew them primarily from the Fight Club soundtrack. I think was probably my first.
Why do you think they decided to do it, Blaine?
The money, I guess.
Must have just seen a bow sitting on a money-colored bow on top of their golden little heads.
Honestly, I don't think it's hard to get a producer if you've got enough money in most instances. Those sort of mid-tier, sort of somewhat well-known producers.
So could this be like a helicopter mom for them? Be like, we're going to get the Dust Brothers for you.
Yeah, that's what I picture.
I can guarantee you that the Hanson's mother had no idea who the fucking Dust Brothers were.
Well, yeah, you're right.
The band's explosion into popularity with this MmmBop song was quickly followed by just a fuck ton of cash grabs, okay? So the first is the record company released a documentary titled Tulsa, Tokyo, and the Middle of Nowhere toward the end of the year 97. And it's basically just a tour log with just random interviews and also just entire music videos. So it's like, we need 5.5 minutes to kill in this documentary. Let's just play the entire MmmBop music video with no commentary on it whatsoever. They recorded and released a Christmas album that year called Snowed In.
Praise him.
It sold 863,000 copies before the end of the year. So like in a month and a half, it nearly went platinum.
Why do people buy Christmas records?
It's like, you've mentioned it before in another episode. It's like the grandma's like, "Ooh, Johnny will love this for a stocking stuffer," and just don't know.
I think people legitimately like Christmas music, and that makes me ill.
I mean, the top streaming songs on Spotify are all fucking Christmas songs.
Ugh, let's just move on before I piss somebody off.
But just as a note on that Christmas album, they've only sold an additional 200,000 copies since that first Christmas season. So clearly it doesn't have the staying power of like a Mel Torme or Nat King Cole.
Yeah.
Burl Lives, they ain't.
Or a Harry Connick Jr. He's so handsome.
I don't know. I think he looks kind of weird.
Does he?
I mean, I love him. He's a great musician.
Yeah, he's pretty awesome, actually.
So they release another fucking documentary the very next year called
What are we talking about again?
Just weird shit that they did. Like it was clear that yes, the band was a novelty, and the record company was just pushing as much shit as they could on people to try to make something stick.
Yeah.
And they have another documentary that sort of follows the band on their first major tour, which was mostly the United States, but included I think Australia and some other European countries. But the fun fact I found from that is, guess who one of their openers was on that tour?
If you're gonna say Carl the Wiener Dog, I'm gonna be sad that he didn't move on.
Honestly, it's actually a little more depressing than Carl the Wiener Dog.
Okay.
The fucking Baja Men of Who Let the Dogs Out fame. Could you imagine being a dad, like having to drag your kids to a concert?
I think you killed Blaine.
The Baja Men, fucking Hanson.
Man, that's about as bad as it gets.
And that's a prime candidate for this show.
Man, that's like leaving Chili's and being taken to Honey Baked Ham.
Are you just reading memes from Middle Class Fancy right now?
No, I'm just an asshole.
So anyway, in the summer of '98, they re-released the material from their first two independent records on an album called 3 Car Garage. I mean, this album went fucking single platinum, but it's just, I didn't even bother trying to listen to it. I'm sure it sounds just as awful. But the thing I kind of noted about this was that they named it 3 Car Garage based off of the space in their parents' house where the band practiced. Nothing says we're relatable like having a fucking 3-car garage, right?
That's almost as clever as his solo project band.
Which was?
Tinted Windows.
Oh, right.
Oh, I guess it's technically a supergroup. We'll get there in a minute, but
yeah.
Not good at naming stuff, these guys.
No, they had an album in 2018 with an orchestra. Guess what it was called?
Orchestra.
That would have been better. String Theory.
Oh, yeah.
I gotta say, I got so distraught reading so much of this Hanson and stuff today that I went and got a copy of one of my McCarthy novels. I'm gonna just read it intermittently to cleanse my brain of this nonsense.
So what you're saying is that a Cormac McCarthy novel brings you back from the depths of despair?
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty fucking twisted.
Tell me about it.
So anyway, during this big tour in 98, their label Mercury Records merged with Island Def Jam, which of course, has Def Jam Records. And they had already done their second album, released it soon after this merger. And they have another fucking documentary that comes out later called Strong Enough to Break that sort of details this several year struggle they had with the new record company. The impression that you get from watching it is that the band seems to think that the second album didn't do very well because the new record label didn't promote them well enough. However, the documentary also says that the label executives at Island Def Jam rejected over 80 songs from the band, saying that the material lacked marketability.
Ooh.
Wow.
I mean, you're getting to a point where if you can't write one fucking song, I mean, they had a huge hit. So, I mean, pretty much anything you would release would get some kind of sales. But 80 fucking songs from them were so bad that they're like, no, we're not releasing this. So they released a bunch of other albums on their own record label, and they still tour today. You know, whatever. Who gives a shit? I mean, they have a niche fan base of people like me and Hayden's age, women in their 30s who heard them in elementary school and middle school, and I guess still have a nostalgia factor.
Yeah, for sure. As they get older, you got much more of a Cheesecake Factory or Macaroni Grill kind of vibe going on at this point.
Yeah, I mean, they look like they really look like we want to be a pseudo-Christian type band like Creed, but Creed is too hard edge for us, so we need to look a little nicer.
They also want to be a walking Taylor guitar advertisement.
That too. So, really what I'd like to do for the rest of this, the bio, is just to talk about some of the weird shit with these fucking guys that we found.
Didn't we just do that?
Well, we're getting there. So the first thing that kind of struck me was that of the three brothers, only one of them has their own personal page on Wikipedia. So like there's the Hanson band Wikipedia page, and then when they, normally you see like the name and there's a link to the page. Only Taylor, the middle one, has one. Also, it was very difficult to find this information, but they actually also there's 7 Hanson siblings. They have 3 sisters and a younger brother. The younger brother, named Mac, is also a musician. He fronts a band called Joshua and the Holy Rollers.
Yeah, there you go.
And there's a couple of very professionally recorded and produced music videos on YouTube that have all of 1,500 views. I mean, it's sort of like this roots rock, Black Keys kind of sound to it. It's very, I mean, it's not bad. It's just super generic.
Huh.
I mean, don't go listen to it. It's dumb.
I wasn't going to.
The next thing that I found that was kind of funny is that they released a beer in 2013 called MmmBops.
Oh no!
Oh boy!
And so I went around and tried to find what people were saying about it.
Is it on Untapped? I'm going to look while you talk.
There was some some kind of beer review site, and it's all in like the 3 out of 5, 2.5 out of 5, 77 out of 100. But I'll quote a Vice article that I found.
That's a pale ale.
The author, he consults a master brewer to get like a review because he feels like his judgment will be clouded on this beer based upon his opinion of the band. And this is the quote that the master brewer had that kind of sums it up. He says, "If I were at a party and somebody gave this to me, I'd drink it, but I wouldn't be excited about it. You've had a million beers like this." So they release something that's safe, but basically flavorless.
But basically, all you're saying is it'll drink.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can drink it down for sure.
It'll drink down all right. It's got a pretty low overall rating on Untapped, like barely over 3 out of 5, 7,000 ratings too. It's a 7.5 pale ale though. That's pretty hefty for an MmmBop. I thought it'd be a little more conservative than that.
Well, it's funny because the Vice article was written right after it came out, I think in like 2012 or 13. And they point out that I think at the time Oklahoma's laws still didn't allow you to brew beer over a certain ABV. And it was originally 4%.
That's what I was expecting.
Which is the exact level of ABV that Christ lets you do. just in case you're wondering. It says it in the Bible.
The internet's a weird place.
Let's get into the really weird stuff here.
We're talking Hanson Gate?
We're talking Hanson Gate. I had no idea because, of course, I don't follow anything about fucking Hanson on the internet. But apparently last year the band received a bunch of criticism from their own fans in the wake of George Floyd's murder.
Oh, you about to tell me that a bunch of Christ-fried Oklahoma crackers are intolerant?
Let me
please sound the alarms.
Let me build up from tone deaf to intolerant, please.
Okay.
So, like, I mean, I don't give a fuck what any famous person has to say about anything, but apparently their fans were just like, "Why haven't you said anything about the murder?" Blah blah blah. Just building criticism in the comment sections of their social media. And finally, the three brothers each individually released some posts that kind of had like these vague sentiments like, we're all one family, racism is wrong, and my hope for the world is that all people live up to their greatest potential. It was viewed, rightly so, as like a very all lives matter kind of sentiment.
It has that stench.
Also, I think you're missing that, like, whenever one was posting about this kind of stuff, and it was like a thing happening, they were posting about SpaceX rocket launches.
Yeah,
like fundraising for mental health for like musicians.
I think that's why the criticism of their fan base started, is because they were just posting the normal stuff where everybody was talking about the George Floyd murder. That seems like a correct criticism. I mean, if you're a public figure posting stuff on the
if you don't want to talk about it,
I
I'd just stay silent during that time.
Yeah, just don't post anything.
Right.
So this kind of very lukewarm response only led to more criticism, because the fans accused them essentially of intentionally avoiding the phrase Black Lives Matter, in which they finally made a post where they said those words exactly, but they turned the comments off, of course. You don't want to start shit. Because it's one of those things where probably hedging like all the people yelling at them, but also they probably have a lot of fans that would stop following them if they said Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
But the real problem is, not long after this, somebody leaked a now deleted Pinterest account that belonged to Zach, the younger one. And the account was mostly a pro-gun meme account, but all the memes were like super homophobic and transphobic and sexist. There was one that was like supporting George Zimmerman's murder of Trayvon Martin. You know, like really like fucked up shit.
Yeah, man. Hanson Gate.
Yeah, and so I mean, maybe Zach Hanson had a Wikipedia page before all that, but he doesn't have one now.
Maybe he decided to step out of the public eye at that point.
Probably a smart move. This is only tangentially related to this, but not long after, in November of 2020, Isaac, the older brother, posted on Instagram saying, quote, "Our governments want to cancel Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Easter in the face of COVID. I, for one, will not comply."
Yeah. "I fear God more than I fear death, and far more than I fear my government."
Man.
That's what he says after that.
Yeah. So now that leads us into, I mean, I didn't really know this about them, but apparently it's well known that there's some sort of evangelical Christian group of some sort. And I mean, I think all three of us have probably plumbed the depths of the internet to our best ability to try to figure out what the hell sort of weird cult-like group they are.
Yeah.
I mean, they're from Tulsa, Oklahoma, the home of Oral Roberts University, a famously weird, it's very similar to like Liberty University for the Falwell people. But here these are the quotes. They've said that they're evangelical Christians. Zach saying, "I do consider myself a Christian as far as all the details of beliefs and faith. I never really talked about that. People have asked us. I think, unfortunately, it can be a barrier to people." So you don't want to talk about it means that you're into some weird shit.
Yeah.
That's my read on it.
So I was unable to find anything, so I'm counting on you and Blaine to have some interesting theories for me to listen to and poke jokes at. And go.
Well, I mean, Blaine, do you have any ideas on this?
I do know that they were homeschooled.
Yeah.
And that's
the first red flag.
That's all I found. Yeah, it's a red flag. It's a red flag. Not that you couldn't tell.
I mean, they do have the like frosted tip leather bracelet sort of vibe that is common to those kind of musicians. But yeah,
Getting
I mean,
Applebee's gift cards in the mail from their grandma vibes.
But so yes, they were homeschooled. Also, all of them got married super early, and I found that the older two had children like 6 months after they got married. So I mean, we're all familiar with this being from Alabama. I got my girlfriend pregnant, so I got to marry her.
It's called a shotgun wedding, Josh.
Yes, that is the traditional term for it. But they also all like they have like 15 or 16 kids between the three of them, which putting that all together, that makes me think that they're like one of those like the Duggars, the Quiverful people, where it's just
quiver.
where we just have to have as many fucking kids as we possibly can.
And that sounds about right.
You mean a Catholic?
No, it's this strange sect of evangelical Christian that think they just have to bang all the time.
Yeah.
No, the actual theory, I think, is something along the line. There's a line in the Bible that says something about
Be fruitful and multiply.
quivers and air. Yeah, well, something like that. But it's an even more obscure quote that's keep the quiver and arrow analogy. Josh probably knows it.
We have said quiver a lot tonight already.
Yeah. You're an arrow for God. I mean, the general idea is that in order to proselytize and spread their religion, you just have to do it with brute force population.
That's right. You just keep producing kids that will be your evangelical, preachers or whatever.
All this copulation talks make my little dingus quiver.
Well,
The problem is that most of those kids who grew up in that sect end up leaving it because of how fucking crazy they are. So, continuing with that vein, there was a snippet in an interview that I found where they talk about traveling and living all over the world as a part of their father's job. So, like in South America, for instance, Venezuela, Argentina. And I think traveling to South America for your job, you're a weird Christian, he's some kind of missionary or something, right?
yeah.
He is not.
Oh,
What is he, a perv?
No, he was.
I don't know why I said that.
yeah. What?
My accusation is probably not as bad as a perv, but here's my theory. Here's the deep internet hole I went down. Their father worked as an accountant for an oil drilling company called Helmerich and Payne, which is why he spent a lot of time in places like Venezuela and Argentina. This company is most famous for creating the drilling rig that makes like shale production possible. And so they got a fuck ton of money off of digging up natural gas in Texas and Pennsylvania.
And that's how they afforded the Dust Brothers.
That's how they afforded that 3-car garage.
What cars are in the 3-car Hanson family garage?
Oh, man. Well, there's definitely like a GMC Sequoia for getting the kids around.
Big truck. There's a big truck.
You think there's a big truck?
There's a big truck, yeah.
Do you think there's a 4-door silver Jeep Wrangler just waiting for Taylor's 16th birthday?
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
That one's parked out by the basketball goal, though. It's not in the garage.
I make the kids park outside. That's the one punishment they get. But anyway, so I digged into this company a little further, and the two places that Taylor mentioned specifically, Argentina and Venezuela, the company was busted for giving bribes to government officials there and like had to pay like millions of dollars. So like I'm pretty sure that like their dad is like maybe the modern day equivalent of Daniel Day-Lewis's character in There Will Be Blood. But he did not abandon his boys.
Oh man, I want to scream it so bad.
He actually quit the job when they became famous. So it makes me think that maybe they're not exactly the crazy evangelical type, but they're more like the run-of-the-mill, like Reagan conservative Fox News evangelical type, where they just get angry at anything that isn't waspy as shit.
Isn't normcore?
Yeah. So one final thing I want to say before we get into the actual song.
No, we're not. Oh, not so fast, buddy.
In this Vice article about the Black Lives Matter controversy, there were some snippets about they were interviewing fans who were women of color that were fans of Hanson but felt uncomfortable with their shows because there's just not a lot of non-white fans of Hanson.
Now, you mean to tell me?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big shocker there, right? But apparently the fans of Hanson are really brutal at concerts, like pushing and shoving people to get closer to the stage. And the quote from this one woman, she says, "I've seen a woman get punched in the mouth by someone holding a baby."
I would believe it. I watched a lot of live videos, and there are a couple where it's like reminiscent of like an early Beatles performance of like,
yeah,
just like the level of screaming that is happening and like the chaos and the chaotic energy in the crowd. Like to be honest, Taylor Hanson looks like a deer in headlights during the performance. He looks terrified of the crowd because they're like kind of ravenous.
Well, he probably saw that one or two people of color in the crowd. He never had seen that before. Daddy didn't let him watch the Cosby Show when they were young, and that's what happens.
Yeah, even though their 3-car garage is probably sitting on the ruins of Black Wall Street in Tulsa.
Ooh.
Oh, that's not. Oh boy.
It's the 100-year anniversary this week.
Oh, wow, it really is. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's so very apropos that we're recording this today.
We're going to talk about tinted windows before we go.
Yeah, if you want to go ahead and inject what you have to say about tinted windows.
I just want to bring up tinted windows. Blaine, did you come across tinted windows?
I didn't know. I'd forgotten. Yeah, I knew about this, I think, when it was happening, but I totally forgot.
It's just kind of like what you want to call a super group, I guess, because you've got, in addition to Taylor Hanson, you've got James Eha, the saddest Smashing Pumpkin.
Yes, I remember this. Yes, it's coming back to me now.
And you've also got whatever his name is, the Cheap Trick drummer in there.
Uh-huh.
And the guy from Fountains of Wayne or whatever.
Like, how does this get brought together? Did you look and see, like, what was the impetus behind this?
Who gives a shit?
They all have the same agent.
But I did listen to the first 3 tracks on it just because I had to. And, man, like, it's a decidedly more rock and roll approach, obviously, with, like, adding a Pumpkins guitar player. And there's some fuzz and, like, some stuff like that going on. But it is, like, it somehow feels even more neutered than an actual Hanson record as a result of this. Like, it's just so, yeah, it's real bad. And the real reason I wanted to bring them up is because I got a little self-absorbed here, and I had to look up some reviews for this record. And I saw that Pitchfork took the time to write about tinted windows, and I just could not deny myself this little treasure. So I read the Pitchfork review, and I just wanted to read the listeners a couple of quotes from the Pitchfork review, then I'll shut up. The result of this collaboration is the kind of polished power pop that was popular and even a little edgy for a brief period of time for the previous decade. And it's hard to tell if Tinted Windows, with their power chords, studio sculpted guitars, and terrible name, are hopelessly dated and irrelevant or simply nostalgic for a musical moment before CDs became technology's bitch.
Oh, man.
So what was the score? What was the Pitchfork?
3.5.
Okay.
Out of 5?
Out of 10.
Okay, good. Jesus.
Come on.
Oh.
God damn it, Josh.
I don't fucking read Pitchfork. Fuck those people.
Also, the reviewer said, I was a little disappointed that my copy wasn't sealed with one of those dog bone stickers, the residue of which would remain long after the death of the medium and even after the death of me. Y'all remember those? The sealing stickers?
Yeah.
The anti-theft things? And 2 quick ones from the end of this. I just love how much of an asshole Pitchfork can be about this kind of stuff. Sure, lyrics aren't as crucial as melody and momentum, but how can you sing if you're always cringing?
I mean, that's kind of what Billy Corgan sounds like when he sings.
He sounds like he is singing from the bottom of a snorkel underwater, like someone has a condenser mic outside the top of the snorkel. And to close the interview, and I'm going to shut up, if there are dollar bins in the future, that's where you'll find this failed debut. Yeah, I believe Blaine has a nice anecdote for us, though. I'd like to turn the mic over to him.
Well, I dreaded coming up for things for this episode because I knew I'd have to listen to this song again and with it bring on hurt that comes with what I can only imagine phantom pain. So, this story, I'll try to make it quick. The setup is it's the summer the song was released, and in the very small town I'm from in Alabama, very small, there were no apartments. So if you wanted to move out of your parents' house immediately, you went to a trailer park just to have your own place. You got a trailer park. Buddy of mine had that happening. It's my second time doing mushrooms. We're boiling up some of that sweet tea.
Hell yeah.
That Kool-Aid. And, we get it in us real good. And
You done up real good?
oh, yeah. Things are done up real good.
Get it all up in you.
Yeah, I'm talking stomach churning. You're at the vomiting point. You know that part.
Oh, I know all about it, buddy.
And so a storm comes in out of nowhere. Just scary storm. Knocks out the power. We're sitting in the dark. And we figure out that he's got a boombox with batteries. And we need something. I mean, we're tripping our balls off in the dark, so we need something. And we fire up the boombox, get batteries up and running, but it won't pick up any radio because we're in the middle of nowhere. Can't find. It didn't have a CD player. It was just a tape player. We searched and searched. I'm talking. It felt like hours. It was probably 2 minutes. And the only thing we could come up with was a cassette single of MmmBop.
Oh, just the single too, huh?
Yeah.
Ouch.
And we listened to it, and we listened to it because the power was not coming back on. And we listened to this song maybe 15, 20 times, and we had eventually morphed into singing MmmBop. And there's just parts of this song that I cannot relive again. Almost
MmmBop.
Yeah, it was bad. So it's just embedded in me to hate this song, but I had hated it before. So when he finds this cassette tape, I was ragging on him for even having it. He had no idea where it come from. It's the only kind of shit that happens when you're tripping. You know, power goes out. He didn't have cable anyway. We're in a trailer park, and the only cassette tape in view is Hanson that neither of us liked.
No radio stations in Sullivan. Ouch.
No.
Well, you probably got the AM crazy preachers, right? I feel like that would be preferable to Hanson.
Yeah, I think they had probably taken shelter at that point.
Were they also playing Hanson at that point?
Probably in their basement.
God, what else is going on in their basement? Jesus.
Oh, man. Hey everyone, just want to jump in here for a minute to let you know that we now have official This Song Sucks merch for sale. We've got t-shirts, hoodies, stickers, and coffee mugs available. Head on over to thealabamaTake.com and click on the shop link at the top of the page. You can also pick up all the other Alabama Take goodies, like the fan favorite Done Up Real Good t-shirt. Again, head to thealabamaTake.com and follow the shop link. Thanks for your support, and now back to the episode. Unless you got something else to say, I was going to move on to talking about the song.
Yeah, let's do it.
So I'll start off by saying that several sources I found, the kids say that they came up with the chorus to MmmBop while trying to think of background parts for a song on their first independent record. And then they eventually came back to that and wrote a verse and, made it a song. When I read that and heard that on their interviews, it immediately made sense because my biggest problem with this song, I think, is the melody of the chorus. Like I said, they were coming up with background vocals with this part, and that's exactly what it sounds like. Mm-hmm. The notes of the melody, they basically just follow the root notes of the chord that's being played.
Yeah.
Technically that's a bass line. It's not a fucking melody, it's a bass line.
It is kind of, yes. It could be a really lame slap bass line.
I mean, it sounds like a fucking, ear training exercise to me.
Mm.
Yeah.
I would agree. To me, it sounds like scatting, and that's my only thing, really one of the things I want to talk about the song at all is that I cannot stand scatting in general. But this song, why would anybody scat? Who thinks that's cool?
Well, it goes back to them being like an a cappella group doing these 50s and 60s.
Sure.
Right.
Doo-wop kind of groups. And so MmmBop.
Yeah, but their version of it sounds like someone put Bacardi Coconut in a 10-year-old Dave Matthews Mondo Punch.
There is an In Style article written by Faith Cummings who I don't think she knows shit.
Wink.
But she she argues it's not just a trivial pop song, as Hanson was actually inspired by a classic genre for the tune. And then we got Zach Hanson actually saying, what happens is people go to sing that song and they start making it up as if it's nonsense, but it's actually a repetitive part. It came from doo-wop songs, so it's a background part. And first of all, I don't care if it's a wop or a bop or a drop or he's a fop or it's nonsense.
It is definitely nonsense.
And just being inspired by a genre that's renowned and fairly quality doesn't make the inspiration that came out of it good automatically. So, my painting of the Mona Lisa looks like a toddler smeared carrots on a 99 Buick LeSabre, but that doesn't make it deserving of museums.
Man, you just whipped my Dave Matthews Mondo Punch joke into the dirt
well,
there.
that's what we get for bringing Blaine on it.
Excellent. Raising the bar.
Yeah, so we'll get more into the nonsense lyrics, I'm sure. But the verse melody is actually like a melody that a song has.
That's what I hate the most about it, though.
Say what you will about the lyrics, but the chorus, the hook is the worst part of the song melodically for me.
But I feel like you can just sing that whole melody scatting too, like flippy dippy doo ba da boo boo, scooby dabba dabba doo da doo. Or you can.
You could, yeah, but I mean,
or sing it like Cartman.
Here we go.
I'm just saying that like it's not like good, but it's like it is a serviceable written melody that actually makes sense.
Yeah.
Whereas the other one, it doesn't even sound like a good background part, which was their intention.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Well, you're free to disagree with whatever you fucking want to, Hayden. That's the whole point, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
This friendship sucks.
Just really putting a strain on our relationship. I hope all the listeners appreciate how much time I have to spend talking to Josh now.
It is a struggle.
He's not well liked.
No, not at all. But my next point is that this is another great example, and I've talked about this before, about a song that doesn't have a fucking ending. So they just fade out. Again, I'm not going to criticize fade outs in general. I'm not a huge fan, but it's used as a crutch when you can't fucking end a song.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of these things where it's a 1-4, 1-5 progression that just repeats ad nauseum, and so they write themselves in a corner. And the way that melody ends is that it doesn't end at the end of the phrase. You have to begin the next phrase to go to the natural resolution of that melody. And so because of that, there's no way to end that song without sounding cheesy. Either you end on the 5 chord and you're left hanging, or you end on the 1 chord and it sounds like you've just finished a gospel hymn or something. and what they do live is even a lot of time is even fucking lamer, where they do the like everyone clap and sing bap.
God.
Jesus. Which is what they do live.
And then they just bap bap boo. Yeah.
Yeah, please stop, Josh.
Oh God.
There's no way to end this song without just being dumber than everything that came before it.
Pointing that out brings out such strong evangelical homeschool
Yes.
vibes that will floor you faster than Benny Hinn on a Coke binge. That's
Yet another piece of evidence pointing toward weird evangelicalism.
I know, it totally is.
My next point, and Blaine, you brought this up in our text thread earlier. I had forgotten about this completely, but the just over the top, out of nowhere, fucking DJ turntable scratching that happens throughout the song.
Yes.
I mean, I get it. Incubus was a thing around that time. Maybe they were trying to throw that in there.
I don't think Incubus is where they got the influence from.
But where the fuck did they get it from?
And that was all over 90s alt pop stuff.
I mean, maybe it was the Dust Brothers being like, "Oh my God, I can't believe we did this. Let's do something to ruin it." It makes no sense. Like, they don't have a turntablist in their group. Like, there's no.
They wouldn't allow one.
Turntablist.
There's nothing hip hop about them or this song or anything they've ever done.
No.
I don't think there's a turntable anywhere else on the album or any song they've ever done. It's a complete non sequitur that I don't know where it comes from. And I can't find an even bad reason for why they would do something like that.
Does anybody else think that the structure of this song is a total fucking train wreck?
How do you mean?
As far as like how it's put together, I mean, it's like you get this classic 90s elongated intro that would only exist in the mid 90s,
right.
And then you're hammered with 2 long verses, like much longer than you expect to get to a chorus, and then you just get a fuck ton of choruses,
way
and
too
like
many,
weird little sequitur scatting things. Like I felt like I'm like. To not get a chorus until a minute, you've already got 3 by like 2 minutes. And by that point, the fact that the song's still going for the third one, I feel like I'd aged myself into an assisted living community. Just like, why is this still happening?
I mean, what's crazy is that that's the radio version, and they have the longer album version that is just...
It's a minute or so long.
How much longer? Okay, well, which one did I listen to? I mean, I listened to the YouTube, the main one.
If you listen to the one with their official music video, it's the radio edit.
Wow, really?
Yeah, but here's the thing.
How could it be longer?
They keep doing so many like overlapping scatting things. I mean, it kind of ties into my next point, which is like they are trying so hard to sound like the Jackson 5.
Yeah, they are. They're trying to be Motown.
Real quickly, it's 5 minutes and 10 seconds. I'm sorry, but that's how long the studio cut is. Wow.
And if you go listen to those independent albums, these imitations are even worse, as I mentioned before. But it's like yeah, there's too much of them trying to be a group of like doo-wop singers.
Yeah. And they end up being Kids Bop.
Yes, he's like a 13 or 14, Taylor, the lead singer at the time, or
He's
however.
13 at the time, probably.
I'm not trying to rag him. I'm saying he's clearly can sing, but it's just he's trying just a little too hard to sound like a young Michael Jackson, and it comes off as very disingenuous. I probably use that term too much in this podcast, but I mean, that is, I think, a valid criticism.
I mean, it certainly is with Hanson.
That's really all I have to say about the music itself. Hayden, do you have anything else to say about the music before we let Blaine dig in on the...
That IPA really getting to your head, man.
It is getting to me. Before we let Blaine dig in on the lyrics here.
Nah.
He's just ready. He's ready for it to be over. Along with all our listeners.
Oh, one quick anecdote before we get to Blaine.
Okay.
Did anybody else watch the Tiny Desk performance that they did?
No.
It's whatever. Don't watch it. But there's only one. Well, actually, you know what? Listeners, do pull it up if you have time, because Zach is wearing something around his neck in it that I thought at first was like a kinky dog collar and thought was kind of dope, but then I just realized it was some fucked up purity ring bullshit.
Oh, wow.
But it looks like kind of like a dog collar thing. I was like, oh, sweet. They definitely grew up. But alas.
So disappointing. Blaine, tell us what you have to say about the lyrics on this song.
Yeah, well, I have it just innately in me somewhere that to go against songs that don't put words where words should logically be, like the chorus of this song, and they're not lyrics. It's just lazy to me. I know lyrics aren't everyone's forte, and you got some people that'll even admit that they're one of the least important things, but this is arguably an 8-line chorus that says nothing at all, that it makes that wailing attempt at doo-wop. And I'm also of the second, one of my other strong held beliefs coming into play here is that anyone who's 11, 13, and 16 has nothing to say that I want to hear. That's practice for later in life. So you combine that, and the song's awful. And the song has the lyric, and when you get old and start losing your hair, can you tell me who will still care?
Not me.
See, that's their interpretation of love at 8. That's a 16-year-old's interpretation of love, or a 13-year-old. Like, it's about my hair. And they had great hair. I'm going to give them that. Now, with all that being said, the first verse isn't actually the worst thing on paper. It's your 16-year-old viewpoint of life where they think everyone's going to turn their backs on them at some point. You know, my girlfriend's going to leave me. I've got to be jealous or whatever. And then the second verse is just bland as a cracker because it's the lyrical equivalent of dial-up internet connection.
What brand of cracker are we talking? I'm a cracker enthusiast.
Just a saline. Or
saline.
What do you call it?
Saline.
Saline cracker. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, this is awful. So because he starts with this is such a stupid junior high metaphor.
Plant a seed.
Plant a seed, plant a flower, plant a rose. You can plant any of those.
It sounds like a nursery rhyme.
Yeah, I know. Hey, how does that second line go? Plant a seed, plant a flower, plant a rose. You can plant. Doesn't he do something weird?
Oh yeah, hang on. He goes, who gives a fuck? I don't know.
No, and here's why. Because I'm thinking this is the point where during our mushroom trip, I kept thinking he was saying marijuana, and he's not saying that.
Well, the next line is...
Turns out he's not.
Keep planning to find out which one grows. It's a secret no one knows.
Yeah, and then he says that a couple times, like once more. It's a secret no one... It's just junior high shit. And but I will say this as I wrap my little bit here is I would sincerely like to hear a good slow sludge metal version of this song. I really would.
Are you asking me? Are you asking me directly?
I think
to do
Hayden
this?
can make this happen.
I'm saying give me one of those slow ass Dinosaur Jr. sludge metal versions of this, and I honestly think it could be almost good or at least funny.
Speaking of alternate versions, I'll take that to heart, by the way. Speaking of alternate versions, I sent Josh, before we started, the Wolfpack version of this song, which fucking kicks ass.
Well, it's not Wolfpack. It's Scary Pockets doing MmmBop in the style of Wolfpack.
Oh, is it really? I thought that's the same guitar player from Wolfpack. Is it not?
I don't think so. No, I mean there's a couple of guitarists in Wolfpack, but I don't think that's him. It's Scary Pockets is a group that does like kind of funk versions of popular music.
It's pretty good.
I mean, yeah, I mean it's a tight band and they're doing stuff.
Well, they changed it up enough to make it
Yeah,
interesting.
the arrangement is such that it is actually fairly interesting, but the basic bones of the song are still there, and you know they've got cancer. Their marrow is not good.
Please cut all this out.
One of the Chads from Hanson said that in that In Style article, the whole song's about the fact that almost everything in your life will come and go very quickly. You've got to figure out what matters, and you've got to grab onto those things.
Yeah, I saw that same thing, and it's like
Them defending this song is actually kind of
Yeah.
At some point, you need to say, hey, we were 16, 13, 11. It's a pop song.
let it go.
Yeah, totally.
Marijuana.
Well, if you don't have anything else to add, Blaine, about the lyrics, I think it might be time for Hayden's YouTube corner. Boop.
I really hope Carl the Wiener Dog commented on something.
Before we even dig into like the comments, let's did y'all watch the video again?
The music video of MmmBop?
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Not really. It played, but I didn't really watch it.
It's very.
I'm not gonna make fun of the obvious shit here. I'm sorry, Josh. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Well, I was just saying that it's very 90s and that it ends with them inline skating.
Yes, absolutely.
Gosh, that's great.
I just want to give a quick shout out to Zach's very Fieldy-esque corn braids behind the drums in that video.
Oh yeah, I forgot he had cornrows.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
He's got a serious corn vibe going on, which is kind of dope.
Oh, gross.
And I also wanted to point out that I don't understand why they're insistent on showing Taylor aggressively play his keyboard.
Yes.
Yeah,
There's not any
yes.
keyboard in this song.
It's all the videos. He's like banging away on the keyboard like Stevie Wonder on Superstition, and there's nothing happening with the keyboard in the songs.
Yeah, it's real awkward. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. The comments in this, just much like everything about this, just sucked. I mean, I spent a long time doing it. It's just a bunch of lame shit about being happy or some bullshit. I mean, I don't.
Is that it? That's all you got?
I mean, no, I've got some things, but like the majority was just like people like being positive and that kind of lame shit. But
Well, you know we hate that here.
yeah,
I really hope someone came in and said, I saw them at the Wisconsin State Fair.
right after Carl. I think we need to have a band named Carl the Wiener Dog now.
Yes, I'm down for that.
Okay, quick. First anecdote from the YouTube. I was 15 when this came out. I played this single full blast on repeat so much that one day my mother just walked into the room, took the CD out of the CD player, and walked back out without ever making eye contact or ever saying a single word about it.
That's a mother that cares for her children.
What else you got, Hayden?
There's a lot of, for some reason, a lot of Nirvana jokes. They're not funny, but it's just like a very reoccurring theme. Like, gonna tell my kids this was Nirvana.
Oh, yeah, that.
Or smells like preteen spirit. There's also to throwback to last season. There's a lot of talk about people not being able to understand the lyrics. And we all know how mad white people get when they can't understand what someone's saying in a song.
They do get pretty furious about that.
But they several people bring up Louie Louie and that whole fiasco in the comment section, which I thought was funny. Anyway, back to the comedy. Blake says Frog Stomp was by far their best album. I just want to let it be known this podcast will always appreciate a good Silverchair reference, no matter.
Yeah, well, apparently everyone thought they were from Australia,
Yep.
Yeah, they did.
which Silverchair is.
Priscilla says, as a microwave, I really like these lyrics.
What?
What does that mean?
It's all the bop and beeping going on. It's like a beeping microwave joke. I kind of like that one.
That's good.
That's pretty deep.
Funny you say deep. Anthony says, now this is finger banging music.
Oh my god! I think you killed Blaine.
Again.
That's all I got.
Now that's what I call finger banging music, volume 12.
Volume 69.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
God damn it.
All right, wrap it up.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, that's really, thanks for doing my job for me. The second season is going to go so well.
We need to keep this one in the coffee zone and out of the beer zone.
You're probably right.
Nah, I think it's funny when we have a loose episode like this.
I mean, Blaine didn't even crack a Red Bull beforehand.
No, sober's the judge.
I guess that makes sense. You're talking about one of the worst mushroom trips of your entire life.
Oh, it was okay after that. It's fun.
I'm just trying to like fathom how deep within a trip you have to be for your brain to want Hanson over silence.
You know, it was storming outside and there's no power. We just needed something to kill the silence, and we almost thought about just letting the radio play white noise. And I think we did at some point.
Did you think the devil was going to get you if you didn't play Hanson?
It wasn't that bad of a trip. It wasn't quite that intense. It was more of giggly, and we were just like, so we just started listening to it and laughing.
I got you.
The giggly part can be a little anxious. You probably need
It's anxiety.
Yeah, need a distraction. We're just talking about drugs now.
Yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, I did them. I don't anymore. I did them then.
I done did them all, buddy.
Yeah.
What kind of... I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that I think that listeners, it's easy to forget that you would get in a lot of people's car back in 1997, and they wouldn't have a CD player or a tape player or only 2 tapes, and you'd be tired of everything. And so you'd hear MmmBop in your living room or whatever.
Y'all want to go to Buffalo Wild Wings?
I thought we were going to Chili's.
I mean, which big box retail or food restaurant do you want to go to?
I would really eat some Cheesecake Factory. That's not a lie.
I would go eat a hot dog at a Costco if you wanted to.
Classic MmmBop fare. A hot dog at the Costco.
Costco.
All right, everybody. That's it for today's episode. Hayden,
what just happened?
Blaine, thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
For joining me on this terrible, terrible ride into the depths of 1997. We'll see you next time.
Or we won't.
This Song Sucks is brought to you by the Alabama Take. Follow us on Instagram at This Song Sucks Pod and find our blog at thealabamatake.com. Remember to subscribe, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher. You can even email us at thisSongSucksPod@gmail.com.